All right, welcome back to the Latin Metal Crew. Tonight, we're going to dive deep into a legendary heavy metal album, one that really shook things up back in the day.
Oh, yeah. 1982, the new wave of British heavy metal was exploding, and then this album drops.
Talk about shockwaves.
It changed the game completely, changed the landscape of heavy metal forever.
Yeah, we're talking about Iron Maiden's The Number of the Beast, of course. This is the album that unleashed Bruce Dickinson's operatic vocals on the world. I mean, added a whole other level to their sound.
For a lot of metalheads, this is the heavy metal album. Run to the Hills, Hallowed Be Thy Name, the title track. All instant classics that still define the genre today.
For sure. And it's fascinating how quickly this album came together. Basically, 5 weeks locked in the studio writing and recording most of it from scratch.
Talk about intense creative energy. They had a vision and they just went for it. And then there were those strange things that happened during recording at Battery Studio.
Oh, yeah, stories about the equipment malfunctions, lights going crazy.
Almost like something was trying to stop them.
Some unseen force. And then you've got Martin Birch, the producer, his car accident before recording. Hits a minibus
Full of nuns.
full of nuns,
Mm.
and then the repair bill comes in,
666 months. Just a wild coincidence, obviously.
obviously. But it adds to the whole aura surrounding the album, especially with that iconic album art, Eddie hanging out with the devil. So much to unpack there.
One of the most recognizable album covers in metal history for sure, and it really gets you thinking. Eddie seems to be both in control of Satan and also being controlled by him. What do you think Derek Riggs is trying to say about the nature of evil?
Yeah. I always saw it as a commentary on how subtle evil can be. Like, you think you're pulling the strings, but maybe there's a bigger force manipulating you. Makes you think.
Definitely. And it's funny, Riggs admitted that he made Satan look like Salvador Dali as a joke.
Oh, yeah. Didn't know that.
Yeah, just a little bit of dark humor. And think about all the parodies that artwork spawned. Bands like Stormtroopers of Death, even Diamond Supply Co. did a version. It really transcended music.
Absolutely. And speaking of transcending, let's talk about some of the tracks. Releasing Run to the Hills as a single before the album, that was a bold move.
It paid off big time, though. That galloping rhythm, Dickinson's vocals, nothing like it on the radio at the time, became their first top 10 hit in the UK, introduced Iron Maiden to a whole new audience, and solidified Dickinson as a metal icon.
Right, and it's kind of funny. They said they regret using Gangland as the B-side instead of Total Eclipse.
Yeah, they think Total Eclipse would fit the album's themes better.
Interesting. And then, of course, there's the title track, The Number of the Beast. Possibly the most controversial song in their entire catalog.
All that controversy over a nightmare. Well, a nightmare in a poem.
Right.
Yeah.
Steve Harris had that nightmare after watching Damien Omen II, and then mixed in imagery from Robert Burns' poem, Tam O'Shanter. They even wanted Vincent Price to do the narration.
Can you imagine? That would have been amazing.
Oh, absolutely. So epic. Barry Clayton did a great job, though. And then the liner notes, misquote, revelations. Just added fuel to the fire.
Yeah. People were losing their minds.
It's what great music does, though. Gets people talking, debating. Like, look at Hallowed Be Thy Name. Practically every metalhead's favorite. They play it live almost every show.
It's a masterpiece, lyrically and musically. You're literally on death row about to be executed. And Dickinson's delivery is just chilling.
Like he's narrating a movie, right? He said that himself. It's such an intense experience. And the live version they released in '93, another top 10 hit, it just keeps resonating with people.
Powerful stuff. And Children of the Damned, another great track, inspired by those classic sci-fi movies.
The Village of the Damned and Children of the Damned.
Right, both based on John Wyndham's novel, The Midwich Cuckoos.
Yeah, taps into that fear of the unknown alien infiltration, a very real fear during the Cold War. Pretty cool how they turned it into a heavy metal anthem.
Definitely. And The Prisoner, always loved that one, inspired by the TV show.
Oh, yeah, the British show.
Yeah, they actually got permission from Patrick McGoohan to use dialogue from the opening sequence. I wonder what he thought of it.
Can you imagine getting that phone call? Hi, Mr. McGoohan. We're Iron Maiden, and we want to use your voice in a song about mind control.
Apparently, according to Rod Smallwood, McGoohan just said, "What did you say the name was?" "A rock band, you say. Do it."
That's great. So a show about Cold War paranoia inspires a metal anthem about individuality and fighting conformity. No wonder it's still a fan favorite all these years later.
And then you've got 22 Acacia Avenue, continuing the Charlotte the Harlot storyline from Killers.
I love that they brought that character back. Such a cool storytelling element you don't see too often in heavy metal.
And get this, Adrian Smith actually wrote that song for his old band, Urchin, years before Iron Maiden. Steve Harris heard it at a gig and knew it would be perfect for them.
Wow. Talk about early influences coming full circle.
This whole album is full of those kinds of stories.
And of course, we can't forget the controversy, all the backlash after the album dropped.
Which is actually what we'll be diving into in the next part of our deep dive.
So we covered the making of the album, but the reaction when it came out.
It was wild. Like, the level of backlash is hard to believe now. Religious groups freaking out, accusing them of Satanism.
Burning albums, protests at their shows.
People were smashing the records with hammers instead of burning them because they were afraid of the fumes from the vinyl.
Seriously.
Yeah, that's how intense it got. Like, people were genuinely scared of this album.
Which is kind of crazy when you think about it. The lyrics are more about nightmares and classic literature.
Not exactly satanic rituals.
Yeah, Steve Harris has talked about how people just miss the point completely.
Just reacting to the imagery and the sound without actually listening to the words.
Definitely overshadowed the music for a while. But, it says something about the power of music.
Right. To provoke that kind of reaction.
And despite all the controversy, The Number of the Beast became a huge success.
Huge! Topped the charts in the UK. Their
Right.
first #1 album peaked at 33 on the Billboard 200 in the US.
And platinum in both countries. Millions of copies sold.
For an album that was supposed to unleash hell on earth, not bad.
And the critics loved it too.
Oh, yeah. AllMusic called it one of the top 5 essential heavy metal albums ever.
Sputnik Music called it a classic. Praised the complex arrangements and the lyrics.
Even made it into Robert Dimery's 1001 albums you must hear before you die.
And don't forget Rolling Stone's 100 greatest metal albums of all time.
Number 4.
Number 4, yeah.
Even got the BBC documentary treatment as part of the classic album series. Like, that's when you know you've made it.
Officially in the history books? And the legacy of this album goes beyond Iron Maiden themselves.
So many bands have been influenced by it.
Oh, tons of them.
You've got Dream Theater doing a full album performance. They're covering Children of the Damned.
Iced Earth covered Hallowed Be Thy Name and the title track.
Machine Head too, with their version of Hallowed Be Thy Name.
Amazing how these songs resonate across different subgenres of metal.
Yeah, it speaks to their power. And the influence doesn't stop at music either. Run to the Hills was in video games.
Like SSX on tour.
Yeah, and Grand Theft Auto. Episodes from Liberty City. And The Number of the Beast was in Guitar Hero 3 and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4.
You're right, it's a whole cultural thing. Shredding on your guitar or nailing a sick trick while that riff is blasting.
That's a whole other level to the experience.
Do you know Iron Maiden almost didn't release The Number of the Beast as their third album?
Really? What happened?
Apparently they had so much material from the Killer sessions, they thought about doing a double album.
Wow. A double album in 82, that would have been insane.
The metal world might have actually exploded.
But you know what? I think The Number of the Beast is perfect as it is.
Yeah, 8 songs. Tight, powerful. Leaves you wanting more.
We've gone through a lot. The creation of the album, all the controversy surrounding it.
The incredible music, the legacy and the impact it had.
But ultimately, what matters most is what this album means to us as fans.
For sure. For a lot of people, The Number of the Beast was the gateway into heavy metal.
Oh, yeah. That first time hearing those riffs,
Dickinson's vocals.
that raw power, it changes you.
It's like a reminder that music can be so many things at once. Beautiful, aggressive, thought-provoking.
And exhilarating. And Iron Maiden, they just have this ability to create music that connects with people on such a deep level across generations.
Absolutely. And it's interesting how this album keeps being re-released, remastered.
Well, yeah, there was that special cassette release for its 40th anniversary a couple of years back.
Crazy to think people are still discovering and rediscovering this album.
In all these different formats, it shows you how powerful and relevant it still is.
It's not just an album. It's a piece of music history. And as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with this thought. What does The Number of the Beast mean to you?
How has it impacted your musical journey? What memories does it bring back?
What emotions does it evoke? Those are the questions we want you to think about as we say goodbye.
Keep listening, keep exploring, and keep those horns held high.
Thanks for joining us on the Latin Metal Crew. Until next time.